Hello and welcome to Afterlife Topics and Metaphysics. This is Cyrus. So in this video I want to talk about time, the afterlife, topics I've covered before, but basically an experience I had back in December. I posted about this on the group back then, but I want to revisit it. I talked about this one of these experiences on the main Afterlife Topics website as an article concerning obtaining verifiable information. This is when I spoke to or encountered an individual who claimed to have had a life in the U.S. Marine Corps and who passed away on duty in Afghanistan, and how I was able to potentially have located who he was here in this life by looking up his name. So that was the article that I posted back in December on the Afterlife Topics website. But that same night, I had in addition to that experience, I was having other experiences in a place I identified as Astral London, and I began talking to people about the nature of time and a dating system in on that plane of existence. I want to bring this up because I know somebody on the forum had made a thread. Actually, I think it was you, Adam, right? You had made a thread about how does a dating system work? How does timekeeping work? Is there such a thing as that in these other higher dimensional planes of existence? And so let's revisit this experience I had to maybe shed some light on that mystery. Before we go further, you're watching Afterlife Topics and Metaphysics, where we do discuss these types of complex, metaphysical, supernatural types of things, astral projection, out-of-body experiences. Not everybody's cup of tea, but it might be your cup of tea, in which case I invite you to hit that subscribe button, like the video, share the videos. That's the only way to keep this type of channel going. As well as I encourage anybody to sign up as a patron at patreon.com/Afterlife Topics. Get involved at the $30 level, and I'll bring you into the classes, the private discussion groups twice a week, where we kind of go behind the scenes, the VIP group for this community, where we plan things as well as have guest interviews. So you can sign up at the Patreon. So to continue. So let's talk about basically how I would say I trolled the astral plane by kind of interrogating people with this question, and kind of funny. So let's kind of walk through what the experience was that I had. Very lucid. I would consider it to be a verifiable experience on the astral plane. Focus 27, whatever it is you want to call it. This happened when I was in the city of Vienna, and I was staying in a hostel, and it was the early morning, and it was just an active morning for me, and I had had two experiences in a row. So, the first experience, I was at a kind of loft I identified as being in Astral London, and I was surrounded by people I identified as being friends or acquaintances of this other astral version of myself. Some characters included an Asian woman of American-sounding background, an East Asian woman, like an Indian woman, who was very petite. I identified some type of a romantic thing I may have had going with her, but that's all I knew about her. And some male characters I can't remember so easily. And most notably, there was this middle-aged Japanese man who I inferred as the owner of this loft, bar, private party type place. So this guy had a huge collection of anime, manga-related items, comic books, action figures, that type of thing, going on behind what looked like his bar counter. So he was a big, like, manga anime guy. As things became clearer, I found myself able to engage. Scroll back up. I found myself able to engage with these people fully, including the opportunity to explain what I was doing as my other self. I was sleeping late in a hostel after stumbling into Vienna at 3 o'clock in the morning, and that I ran a group called Afterlife Topics and Metaphysics. One person remarked that the name of my group rolled off the tongue very easily, and it was a good name, and that I had a couple of books out about what happens to people when they die on the Earth plane of existence, and I was seeking perspectives from I wrote the lion's mouth. I don't think that's the proper metaphor. I meant the horse's mouth, so to speak. One person asked, "What exactly do you call your area of research? How do you classify it?" As is often the case, some understood and others didn't. It's like some people are fully aware of being on that plane of existence, while others are bewildered about all this talk of other planes of existence, as if having no continued memories of having once had a life on this plane of existence. Some people have full memories. Other people almost seem like it's just a rumor to them. It's not. It's like something they haven't fully experienced themselves, or if they had, like they don't choose to remember it anymore. Just a mild observation I've noticed speaking to people in the astral conditions. So I started to talk to the Japanese guy primarily, and here's how that went down. I asked him if he was aware if he was deceased or had a life before this one. And he said he was aware that he had had a life on the earth plane of existence and he had died. I asked him about the nature of the life he once had, and he said, very matter of fact, the life I had before was a miserable failure. So I asked, how do you find your new life now by comparison? And then he says, oh, it's definitely much better here. My life is a lot better now than it had been. So I asked him next, is there a way I can identify the life you had before, find remnants of it? And to my surprise, he says yes. In fact, let me show you my work. So it turns out this gentleman was an actual manga artist illustrator from Japan. And he hands me some prints, and written below is his name in kanji, which was impossible for me to read, whether it was, whether I could speak Japanese or not. Probably be difficult to read it anyway, just from the fact that sometimes it's difficult reading things in these experiences. But anyway, he points out his name in English letters below the kanji signature, and he says, I was an artist before I died, and you should be able to find my work if you look me up. So I'm trying to read his name. I'm able to, but there's some difficulty. And so this is common, I think, in any astral experience. Sometimes you're switching between using your brain and then things falling kind of backward into more of a dream state, and then pushing out of that back into the astral state of consciousness. So what you have to do is you have to raise up to a higher level of lucid awareness in these conditions so that you can guarantee that you're not attached to your physical brain. As that attachment to your physical brain goes and you're more connected to that side of life, suddenly you're able to do the things you wouldn't be able to do if you're just processing it through your brain. For example, obtain verifiable details, knowledge and information that is independent of your own thoughts, and do things like read words. Which again, I can commonly do this, but you have to be on a slightly higher level of you have to upgrade your lucid awareness to like one level higher to be able to do these things, which I was able to do at this point. And then I was able to read his name. So I'm able to read his name. It says Isuzu. So his name is Japanese surname is Isuzu, kind of like the car company that has the same name as this, and it's a common surname. But the problem is I wasn't able to remember his first name except that it began with an M, like Makari, Makata, Mia something. I don't know. But that was so. Unfortunately, I didn't get all the bits of information together. And so when I came back, I didn't have much luck on Google related to deceased manga artists with his name. Maybe somebody out there is some manga nerd, and you might know if there was a deceased guy named Isuzu or something that sounds like Isuzu, and that he was well known in Japan. In which case, let me know. Leave a comment or get in touch with me. Anyway, so at this point, I want to get to the point about time. I asked the whole group if, by a show of hands, they knew what year it was. So this whole group of people at this loft party, nobody knew what year it was. Nobody knew that it was, well, at that time it was 2019, about to hit 2020. I then asked by a show of hands if they'd be surprised to learn it was 2019. So I was met by More confusion, except by Mr. Isuzu, who had a laugh and said he couldn't believe it was now 2019. A couple of the others in the group, such as this such as the Asian woman, stated very clearly that they did not even know what 2019 meant or how a year system worked. And one of the couple of the men in the group was a white male, unsure of his identity, but he asked me specifically, how does that system work? What decides when these years begin? So they don't even know, I don't even understand how a calendar or timekeeping system operates. And I think this is common among people who are what I would call natives of, you could call the astral plane, Focus 27, whatever you want to call it, the astral earth. And I say native because, there's people who just, they've never had a life on this side, or if they did, it was something that was extremely brief, like they were a baby, who passed away at birth, that type of thing. They have no memory, they have no culturation into this realm. And also, I've been told by people there that there's a lot of people there who are just natives. They've never had a life here. They were born on that side of existence. And that's a contentious issue. I don't know what the answer is to that, because mediums often say that that's not true. But then again, mediums sometimes also say really wacky things, like people don't experience negative emotions, and all kinds of wacky things. So I don't know if that's true. I don't know if it's not true. I have no idea. But I will say that people who have not had memories of this world, and this, I think it's a lot of people on that side, they don't even know what timekeeping is. They don't even know. If you try to bring up the year, they don't know what you're talking about, because they don't use concepts like that to keep track of anything. It doesn't make any sense to them. So I respond, the first year began upon the death of Jesus Christ. Before then, it was a different calendar that was used. So the woman said, quote, this is a very complicated system and not what we're used to at all. Upon further inquiry, they explained that they understood what days of the week meant, Monday, Tuesday, etc., but had no understanding of the year's system. It would also seem they do not understand normal timekeeping like hours, minutes, etc. What is telling is that Isuzu was aware, and Isuzu was also the one to clearly identify that he was a deceased person. He expressed some interest in perhaps not realizing how many of our years had passed. This could indicate the concept of native. Okay, this is what I just spoke about a minute ago. People never born into any awareness of timekeeping or calendar systems and completely confused by such a mention of them. Another indication is people forgetting their lives on this side. I don't know. So the second situation was the one I referenced at the beginning with the individual who was like the Greek warrior, and that he told me that he had had a past life, or his most recent life on Earth was that of a U.S. Marine who passed away in Afghanistan. Now, as I recount this story, which you can find the whole story at afterlifetopics.com, and I was able to possibly identify who he was by looking up, taking the information he gave me, including his name, and then finding somebody who matched that, and then also matched his physical appearance. So it was like two hits. It's like, this is when he said he died, this is what he looked like, and this is his name. So it's really difficult for me to rationalize that away. I think I was able to identify this gentleman, the life he had on this plane of existence. So to skip forward from this experience, I wanted to get into the subject of time also with him. So let's see if I can find this part of the story. Okay. So I wanted to piggyback off the previous experience and ask him if he was aware that it was 2019. Like the last experience, he said he knew days of the week, years, particular times, like 12 o'clock. So like he knew these concepts like in a casual way. So you might know Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. It's like, oh, today's Monday, today's Tuesday, but they don't have they don't attach like significance or meaning behind those things. It's just It's almost just like a silly or a goofy thing, which has, maybe some but very little practical value. But then he said that it was like he was mentally unable to put all these things together in a consistent way. So to be able to think of a conception of a year, like it's being 2017 now, and not 2018 and not 2019, he said it wasn't even possible for him to do. He said it was like there's a concept that if he tries to fit them together like in a linear way, like it's 2 p.m. now it's 3 p.m. Basically, he said that the way that his mental processes operate now, that he was no longer able to put those pieces together. Like it didn't make any sense to him. Like it was logically impossible to think about how now it's 2 o'clock and now it's 3 o'clock. Like those things don't mean anything to him. And if he tries to keep track of things using that system, then it's nonsense. Then to go back to what the person at the loft party was saying that this was a overly, basically was referring to what I was talking about, saying that it was an overly complicated system and just not what his people on that side were used to. So it's interesting that they refer to it as overly complicated. And we don't think of it like that because we're so ingrained into it. But I suppose, imagine that you're trying to explain these concepts to people who live outside of these concepts. It's like to be like, why is it 60 seconds? Why isn't it 70 seconds? Why isn't it 50 seconds? And how come it has 60 minutes? Who came up with 60? What do you mean that it's locked into seasons? Why does fall have to be this temperature? Why can't things just be the way that they are? Why do you have to put these weird parameters on every single moment that goes by? So to them, it's a weird and complicated thing. So if you ever want to troll the people in the afterlife, which seems like a fun thing to do to me, then go to the astral plane and interrogate people like I did about what year it was, if they knew what it was, and try to introduce them to concepts like seconds and minutes, and watch as they get frustrated or think you're crazy or talk about what a useless system it is and have a laugh at you. That being said, they may still know what these things are, and they may use it sort of superficially, like in terms of days, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And we also know that they celebrate holidays, and so they have a rough idea of like years that go by, because they're like, how many times have I celebrated Halloween? Because they correspond those celebrations to our holidays, especially so they can become closer to us, and with their loved ones on this side. So especially like Thanksgiving or Christmas. Well, Thanksgiving is a holiday that we have in the USA, but there may be similar ones in wherever in the world that you happen to be. These types of family holidays, especially because they want to be closer to us, and then they have a rough idea. So a lot of these guys, like Mr. Isuzu, lost track, really wasn't even paying attention to how many years had passed since he crossed over, and had a laugh to think that it had been so long since he had died. Same thing though, but if you're following the holidays, then you will have an idea of like how old you are on that side, how much quote time has passed, because you can say, well, it's been 20 Christmases since I transitioned, it's been 15 Thanksgivings, or it's been 100 Christmases. And that's how you have a concept. Now, I can't say that other communities have no concept of time, because there's many, many, many different communities on the astral earth, and there are some that maybe are just a little bit extra bureaucratic and stuck into the way of things on this side, that maybe they do use calendar systems. We know that in the Hindu countries in the astral earth, the Hindu afterlife, if you will, can be very bureaucratic, and for all we know, they use calendar systems and all types of things. I don't know. But that's my interpretation. It also lines up, of course, with all the spiritualist work dating back centuries, whether that be Swedenborg or Borgia or Sloan or Flint or any of these guys. They all say the same things from their communications. It's the same stuff that we see when we travel to that side, and it's the same stuff the mediums say. It's all just consistent. Why? Because the information is real. This is the other side of life, and we're trying to figure it out in this channel. If you like this stuff, pick up a book like Understanding Life After Death, The Afterlife and Beyond at afterlifetopics.com, or especially think about becoming a patron over at the Patreon page. You can help keep this work going as I pretty much keep this whole thing on a shoestring and focus on this work as my job. And it's difficult to do it without funding, but it also means working with me one-on-one. So you can buy a coaching session with me. That'll get you into the VIP group as well, and I'll teach about out-of-body experiences as well as my interpretations of what the other side is like, maybe be able to answer certain questions based upon my opinions from my experiences, which may be of benefit to you. So if you want to sign up for that, just shoot me an email, or if you don't even have to pay me anything. If you just have some certain questions, leave it in the comments, and then I'm usually able to get back to people and answer those questions in the comments or wherever, depending on how busy on a particular day I am. Anyway, there's more stuff coming up around the corner, more interviews and things always happening over here at Afterlife Topics. So thank you for being part of this community, and I will see you guys next time.